I just want to welcome all of you to this session on how to build for success with a unified tech stack based on Procore's platform. We designed this session to celebrate the work that so many IT leaders, like many of you, are doing every single day to help your teams build more efficiently. And as folks are meandering in, and before we get started, I just wanted to tell a quick story that's actually from one of the B1M videos. So our guest speaker, Fred Mills, who's going to be with us tomorrow, tells a fantastic story in one of his videos about the renovation that's going on right now of a 270-year-old historic estate in Glasgow, Scotland. The site has a goal, the team for the site has a goal to make it energy independent over the next few years. And you can imagine the number of constraints that face them as they try to pursue this goal. You know, you can't just re-insulate the walls or change out the window panes without damaging the historic nature of the property. And so the way that they're tackling this challenge is similar to the way that many of you are tackling your IT challenges and the way that our speakers who are with us today are tackling theirs. And that's to look at the system as a whole. Rather than looking at point solutions and the myriad of possibilities, they're looking at the entire energy production and consumption system to make the best decisions, to lower consumption and to really even generate energy on site. That was never possible before. So what they're doing is they're using advanced modeling to understand where energy is consumed. They're uniting the heating and electrical systems across the state for greater efficiency. And then they're also identifying sites where they can put 3,000 square meters of solar panels and 4 megawatt hours of battery storage. And all of that was possible because they're taking a systems approach instead of just looking at point solutions. So we're going to hear a couple of case studies today of how our partners here, our customers, have found ways to build using Procore's platform and to extend it and configure it to do the things that they need to do without getting overwhelmed with the myriad of point solutions that are available. As with all of our presentations at Groundbreak, please make any purchase decisions based on current functionality, not anything roadmap related that we might discuss. So to introduce our two speakers, Aaron Geiger is the CTO at Alberici Group. He has 10 years of experience in IT management and consulting, including the last 10 years as CTO of several GCs and a specialty contractor. And Bishop Brown is the CTO of Wigan Construction, and he oversees all of Wigan's technology investments. He's able to put together his passion for technology and his vast construction experience to come up with some really innovative solutions that you're going to hear about today. So we're going to hear about from both of them of how they used Procore to streamline their tech stack and lay a foundation for ongoing innovation. So many of you have been part of the digital transformation that's been a key enabler for the construction industry over the past several years, as builders and developers grapple with so many of the industry challenges. So we heard about some of them this morning, right? You could probably fill in the blank. Hybrid workplaces, labor shortages, supply chain constraints. Technology has really come in to help to solve those challenges and act as a force multiplier for teams that are under significant constraints. And you've also experienced the proliferation of technology solutions and the difficulty of selecting the right solutions for your organization when there are so many options. There are opportunities for innovation, but it can also lead to complexity, friction, and cost if you're not careful. So in order to be successful, IT leaders need a clear strategy to optimize the tech stack, manage costs, build in efficiencies, and prepare the organization for the future. And that's where Procore comes in. We designed Procore as a single source of truth that connects the fields and the office, streamlines workflows, and generates data insights that were never possible before. And because no single software solution can meet all of the industry's needs, We've designed Procore with an open API architecture and cultivated a growing network of now over 400 ecosystem partners. And you're going to hear about just a few of those today. In this session, we're going to talk about a number of things that we don't do today and we may never do, and that's okay. Our partner ecosystem and API extend the capabilities of our platform. And as you'll hear today, the right tech stack can lead to higher performance in terms of schedule, budget, and quality, and safer workplaces. And now we're just going to hear a few stories of what's possible with a well-planned tech stack that has Procore at the core. First, let's hear from Aaron.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? You don't need coffee. We're going to talk about tech stack, okay? This is going to keep you like drilled the whole time, okay? So I want to kind of tell this story of the 4-year transformation that Alberici has gone through with our tech stack. It really has been a journey. The lens that I want to tell it through is what we wanted as a foundation for operational excellence. So there's many IT benefits you're going to hear about, but the core of why we did this was our operational teams that are building in the field, right? So you'll see both sides of that when we talk through this. So get in the DeLorean, go back to 2018, 4 years ago. Our technology was siloed, server hosted, basically, which means generally it wasn't very mobile friendly, so our field folks weren't getting good use of it. It really wasn't aligned to operational needs, and the key thing there was operations wanted a collaborative platform, right, for all the parties to work as quickly as possible and resolve issues. So the tools that we had at the time didn't provide that. So that was the impetus from the operational side of we need a better strategy and we need better tools. Behind the scenes of that for the technology organization, our integrations and supporting this was a nightmare, basically. We had high cost, took a lot of people hours to support this. There was a lot of legacy technology, which we'll talk about. So we had to make a big shift. And you'll see how big of a shift we had to make. So this is kind of a simple diagram of what it looked like in 2018. The first thing you'll notice, the lines that are connecting applications, those are integrations. Notice there's not very many lines there, right? So we had point solutions for specific functions that were disconnected from other solutions, which at the minimum is super frustrating and inefficient for your field operations teams. Those integrations that are there, those lines, those were one-to-one high code sitting on a server integrations, which broke all the time, heavy to maintain, and every time a partner like Procore, which does the right thing and changes their code often, says, hey, here's a new thing for your API to access, that breaks our integration because we built it an old way. So those were some major challenges. You see the dreaded Excel icon up there. We had a lot of reliance on Excel. Excel is like the best business tool in the world. That's the problem, right? You can do anything what you want with it, but now it's siloed and you have no control over it. So we had some opportunities there. So that's kind of the overall story of 2018. So when we were thinking about how do we transform this, we thought about the core of our stack as kind of 4 legs of a table. These are the foundational pieces that we could build on. So those 4 legs are our job cost system, where we're keeping our system of record for the cost of the project, collaboration tools like Ignite, Office 365, Zoom, etc., our design tools, and then construction project management. And 2018 was a good time to do this because we had just adopted Procore. So we were using a pretty legacy project management platform prior to Procore. As we started to make this change, we had what Julie just talked about, the open API, and we had this one platform to start to transform into. But it's a lot of work to make that transformation. So now you fast forward to 2022, you can see there's a lot of change here. So a couple things to highlight, and I'll start with Procore. We took, I don't know what the total count is, more than 10 different point solutions, applications, custom solutions, etc., and over some time folded those all into the Procore platform. On all those, did we get to 100%? Like we're 100% like for like functionality? No. Most of them we got to probably 95%, which is frankly good enough for everybody. And those trade-offs are, it's in one platform, you've got the data in one place, you can integrate with it, it's easy for the field to use, etc. So that's the first piece. Related to Procore, you've got some out-of-the-box integrations from that marketplace that Julie talked about. So Ignite Instruction Site are two that we integrate basically out of the box. And then we also have custom integrations with things like RiskCast for digital time tracking, our HRIS system, etc. So you see there's connections between all these applications. The IT part behind the scenes was we moved to this more modern integration strategy where we have the hub and spoke, and we're using a low-code integration platform. So what that did, the main thing it did for my team is folks on my team that used to have have to have high coding skills to build an integration don't have to use those skills. So the real example was we had integrations, they used to take 3 to 6 months. Well, who has time in construction to want to adopt an app and wait 3 to 6 months to use it? So now we do them in 2 to 3 weeks. That's a transformative thing for us in terms of efficiency and cost, but ultimately for the operations teams, they're happy because they get whatever new application we're implementing. So that's kind of an overview of the shift that we made. And so now I want to talk a little bit about what other effects did that have. As I mentioned, for our team, it let us give folks earlier in their career more opportunity. So our team of developers and integrators could start building integrations like first day, fresh out of school. They didn't need a lot of experience. So that let us be more efficient.
Hi, I'm Charles Williams, Enterprise Application Director at Alberici. When I first started with Alberici, our approach to technology centered on one-off solutions. If there is a need in a particular area, we provide a great but narrow-focused solution for that need, and so on. While that approach served the organization well, it cost us significantly in terms of efficiency, collaboration, and technical debt. By shifting to a cloud-first, low-code, and API-centric approach, we have addressed those deficiencies and created significant value for both our IT team and the business as a whole. We have accelerated our development lifecycle and can now automate any business idea in minutes and build rapid prototypes in a fraction of the time it previously took. We have reduced the burden of software maintenance, increasing the time team members can devote to the innovative work that drives greater business value. We have also lowered the barrier to entry for innovation, which allows people with little or no coding experience to create digital products, reports, and more. And we have increased collaboration within our IT team, between IT and the business, and between the business and our partners.
The months to weeks, really the joy that his team has in building an integration because they have the right tool that they enjoy using. So we have happier developers, which means more productivity, which means you're keeping developers on your team, and we're relevant against the Amazons and the Googles of the world that are trying to hire all of our people away all the time, right? I know nobody has that happen in here. So that's a little bit about how it affected my team, but now how did it affect the organization? So once we created this stack and this speed, then we could more rapidly innovate and test new things. Before, with that 6 month lag before, we couldn't test things that quickly because you had to wait months for those integrations to happen. So our process to beta test applications sped up. A couple things to highlight about how we think about it at Alberici. Anyone in the organization can choose to test something. Our rule is we do not say no, but we require communication. So anyone can test anything. They don't have to ask for approval, but they do have to tell us that they're going to test it. And the reason for that is then we partner with them to help them with what's the business case for the application. So Julie was talking about all this investment in construction technology. There's more than 3,000 companies right out there right now. It's really important to have a solid process around evaluating the real soft and ROI for your business. Before, like 4 years ago, when you get in the DeLorean and you go back in time, we had a lot of the shiny object syndrome, right? So yeah, someone responded to that. So this process, we've tried to put a little bit of management around it, but not make it feel bureaucratic to our folks in the field, so we can test things quickly, but also say, what is the real benefit of this solution? It might all be soft ROI, and that's okay, but we all need to be clear on what is the benefit, not just, I like this, I want to use it. Because otherwise, that number of solutions that you saw just spirals out of control without any sort of thinking about it. The other thing I would say around this is when you're adopting new things, the most neglected thing is, what do I throw away or what do I stop using? So we're very careful, actually, in our business case to think about, if we adopt solution X, what can we get rid of? Or what do we have to get rid of? So if the business wants to adopt a new application, they have to also say, yes, we're okay getting rid of the old application. We can't afford to adopt two to do the same thing. That frustrates everyone. So really important to think about what you're going to get rid of as well as what you're going to add. So what's the ultimate payback for all this? The ultimate payback is a couple things. The increased opportunity and efficiency in the technology team. So that's been a big impact on my team. An enabled and engaged operations team. So that's the larger organizational benefit. And really this has helped us with our culture of continuous improvement, because when we have a process that we're not happy with, we have this digital process to go through to quickly figure out how do we make it better. The numbers, we try not to get too caught up in numbers, but we've evaluated or piloted 100 solutions in the last 12 months. So we could not do that without those shifts that I talked about. And out of those 100, we probably adopted 10 to 15. So 10 to 15 processes have been improved dramatically within the organization, which is a big impact. So I hope that story of transformation has been informative for everyone. We'll do questions at the end. Right now I'm going to pass it back to Julie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's really a huge transformation to go from server-based to now evaluating over 100 different solutions over the last 12 months by using a flexible, adaptable platform. All right, so next I'd like to invite up Bishop Brown, who's going to tell us his story.
It all begins with a vision. You've spent countless hours thinking about the perfect space, one that exceeds your needs and delivers on your wants. A space that inspires, motivates, helps you grow, and says who you are. At Wygand Construction, we have more than a century of experience bringing our clients' visions to life. Across the Midwest, major hospitals, universities, manufacturers, and municipalities have called on us for high-profile, game-changing projects. Buildings that both accommodate and reflect the talents and cultures of our clients. But make no mistake, this level of creative freedom requires thorough, proven processes at every stage. And that's the Wygand difference.
Okay, so I'm Bishop Brown with Wygand Construction. We are a medium-sized GC based in Indiana, and we're a relatively small IT operation. And so I'm here to talk about how we were able to automate a lot of the Procore stuff we were doing as we adopted Procore at the beginning of 2021. Okay, so the first thing that I can talk about is when we decided that we wanted to look at replacing Excel for our timesheet solution. We love Excel, as everyone does, and we were using it for timesheets with our guys in the field. And as we were going into iPads and guys on cellular and stuff, it just wasn't working well, as you can imagine. So we went to market, we looked around, we ultimately chose to go with the Procore timesheet solution, their field productivity. So we adopted that, and the inaccurate time calculations, that went away, because now guys can't screw up the formulas in Excel. But the rest of it was still a problem. Guys were still charging to the wrong jobs because they didn't know which job or which sub-job that this person's supposed to be on. We still had a lot of manual check to do to make sure everyone got paid and got their full 40. That didn't go away with the Procore solution. Not banging on them, but our processes and our people are what control it. So what do we do? What we did, and by we, I mean Cole Went, who's sitting right there, the man, we decided that we're going to try to use the Procore analytics to solve this for us by being able to look at the timesheets and evaluate correct and incorrect. The problem we found quickly was Procore Analytics updates once a day. So on payday, when we realized everything's wrong, we couldn't check it again quickly. So we had to come up with a solution to kind of work around that once a day. And actually, it's 4 times a day if you ask nicely. But we needed it pretty much real time. Because coming from Excel, we had a culture of just get close and Candy, the payroll lady, is going to figure it out. And she's going to get with you and sort it out. And that's not where you want to be as your growing company. So what we ended up doing is we used Workato, which is our automation solution, and using Procore webhooks, every time someone updates updates a timesheet, the webhook fires and it sends to Workato a little notification about what timesheet changed. We hook that, we parse it, and we upload it to a Postgres database. And then that database, which is ours and we control it, sits up in Azure. Cole took the Procore Analytics Power BI dashboard, tweaked it to display in real time the information, a conglomerate of it. Like the job numbers don't change every day, the cost codes don't change every day, but how much time per cost code does. So he was able to go through that. And so now Candy, our payroll admin, she looks at this dashboard, and there's a screenshot of it on the next slide, and looks for problems, outliers, things that aren't correct. And she'll contact the superintendent and say, hey, why is Bob missing 4 hours? Oh, he went to another job. Larry was supposed to put that on there. Oh, well, he didn't. Okay, I'm gonna call Larry. And she can quickly distill that down now and find all that, where before she's doing the same thing she did before, but she's also not trying to find out why they screwed up the formula that this guy has 48 hours instead of 40. So she gets to focus on validation now and not trying to decipher all the reports. The built-in Procore reporting engine is pretty good, especially if you're looking at one job, but try to look at the entire company and everyone's payroll, it's unwieldy. So my man Cole built this dashboard, and what you're looking at is a overall across the whole record set. It's not one particular week, but you can go and look for outliers. Who doesn't have 40 hours? Who has over 40 hours? Does someone have overtime but not have 40 regular hours? What went wrong there? All kinds of different scenarios that him and the payroll lady went through to figure out, okay, this is the kind of stuff I have to look for every week. So she could just click on one of those, quickly dive in and see what happened with this guy's time and make sure everyone's getting paid. Took this process from like 12 hours of payroll time entry down to probably 4, maybe 2, depending on the week. So we got higher speed to accuracy. They can't mess up the formulas. They can't enter time on the wrong jobs without a lot of extra effort on their part now. I gotta look over here so I can see my notes. We got the one source of truth. I didn't replace the Procore timesheets with something else to store time. We were just able to hook into it and augment it with our own data to produce what we wanted. So we're still looking at Procores as our source of truth. And then everything gets standardized. So as we went out, like, what is time off look like? This is whatever the spreadsheet said before, but now it's one of the 6 allowed codes.
Having this information at her fingertips and a visual that she can quickly look at and kind of gain some confidence that the data is accurate, and that the hours that are coming in are being allocated to the proper cost codes and proper projects in some cases. It was really big for her to gain some confidence and gain some buy-in on utilizing Procore for timesheets in general. She would have, prior to using this workflow, maybe upwards of 10 instances where time was allocated to the wrong cost code. So we can see in a visual how much overtime we're getting versus regular time, on what day are we getting more time than other days. We can kind of see our underperforming projects a little bit easier. And we also can see our budgeted hours versus our spent hours in a visual way to show kind of forecast where projects are maybe in trouble or heading towards trouble. And we couldn't really do that before.
When Procore said that they wanted me to be a part of this, I got to meet with Julie and Aaron here, and Aaron pulled up his slides first, and I'm looking at it going, holy crap, they got the same stuff we got. And then it ended up being the same story. So a quick little history here. We were on PlanGrid before Procore, and decided that, obviously we weren't going to keep that. But one of the things we built with PlanGrid was a little automation engine that simply, when we created a new PlanGrid job, created a new set of folders in Ignite. That's all it did. And it broke all the time, but we fell in love with our little robot. We named him Sebastian. So when we went to Procore, we knew we wanted that built in. So when we were budgeting, I budgeted in that I was going to buy Workato because I was familiar with it, and I allotted 3 months to implement the automation from just creating a job to having it set up in all the systems. What I wanted to do with that is the startup, if you can imagine, you're all doing the same things, I'm sure. We create the job in Procore, we create it in Sage 300, we create it in Ignite, we create it in the iAuditor, we created it, I don't know, you just go down the vendor hall and list all those things, and that's what we made it in. So we just wanted to make that one process. So we leveraged Workato to do that. What's nice is that Procore gave us, with the API, the ability of letting it be the source of truth of what is a job to us. So here's that flow chart. And this isn't even I shouldn't say accurate. This isn't complete. This isn't everything. It's just kind of the highlights. The first thing that came out was, well, okay, if it's not in Procore yet, Procore can't be my source of truth for a brand new job. We don't try to hook anything into Sage 300 because it's such a beast, and the on-prem stuff makes it hard. So what we were doing with PlanGrid was we had an Excel file, but we put it on Teams, so that way everybody could edit it, right? That fixed it. No, because there's no record engine where you can say, I want row 58, because it doesn't know what that means. So we learned quickly, Excel's not going to do this. So what we ended up doing is we start with a manual process. So on the left here in Microsoft Teams, we're using a Workato workbot, that's their term for it, as a chatbot, and you say Workato help, it is the way you want to do, I want to create a new job, and then it asks you for that list of information there. There's, I think it's 6 things or 6 key things it's got to know to start a job. Start date, end date, contract amount, name, and then we got some extra stuff that's optional, but we want to have it. So you type those things into a form in Teams, and it spits back, it's on the next screen, you'll see it spits back some feedback on what's going on. So it's going to go out to Procore, it's going to create the job. In Procore, we have it set up with the Sage HH2 synchronization engine to synchronize it, so it will go into Sage and create it and move all the cost codes and set it up as a real job over there as well. Then once that's all complete, it goes to Ignite, takes our template, and creates a new folder for it there. I'm excited to get the Ignite projects folder system worked out. They're getting an API out for that. And then the next step past that will be getting the Procore Ignite synchronization tool to synchronize those two. Right now it's a manual process, hence the Zendesk ticket. Bishop Brown gets a ticket every single time someone creates a new Procore job because I gotta go turn on that synchronization. Can't wait to automate that away. Then the little chat bubble there is Teams again. It starts giving feedback to others. So it goes to the safety department and says, hey, a new job that's over 150 grand just got taken out, now you're aware. It goes to estimating, it goes a bunch of different places and lets them know, hey, this has just happened, so that they can track it in whatever system they're interested in tracking it on. And then Workado's doing all this, but lastly, Workado is sitting in the background watching, and one of the weird things we do is if you look down at the very bottom, project successfully created, project sign up code, it's like an 8 or 9 digit code, I forget exactly. It creates this little unique code, and then on our website is a form that we made where you just fill out the form, who you are, what role you want. I'm a subcontractor. You put that code in, and it automatically enrolls you in the job with the right permissions. So we don't have to collect all that and put them in and invite them into Procore. They can just go here and do it themselves. All they need is our code. So that's in our meeting minutes. It's in everything we do. We give out that code exists for that job. And that way we don't have the burden of trying to enter them in and keep them up to date. All right, this is my, so feedback, you see it as it starts making stuff, you get the little green check boxes. I'm going down the list and doing the stuff I need to do. It sends an email out to the team saying, hey, this job just got created. You know, the project manager, the construction admin, all of them get assigned to it. It's letting them know where the files are. Like, it's just kind of automating that setup so they know what to do. Some guys get this 30 times a day. The synchronization on the right here, you know, we synchronize the Procore documents with that Ignite template, or a certain folder inside that Ignite template, and that way, you know, it's real time both ways. We can edit in Ignite, or we can edit it in Procore, and that gives us the flexibility of not everyone has to be in Ignite. But so obviously this is faster. Like, we're setting it up quickly. Reduced rework. The amount of times a job name changes and how many places you got to rename that job. It sounds so simple, but oh my Lord, is it complicated.
Listen to all those groans from
Yeah.
the audience.
And so, you know, I will say it was kind of a headache to do the rename workflow in Workado and try to like figure out, all right, well, how do I find it, blah, 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 blah. But it does work. So it's saving a ton of rework. Which reminds me, I wanted to say on the speed stuff, I talked about, I had 3 months planned to build out that Workado, setting stuff up. And so I snuck away to Starbucks one afternoon. I thought, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna kind of make an outline of what we're gonna do here, and I'm gonna play with the connectors. And literally 4 hours later, I had built it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Was it complete? No. Did it have bugs? Yes. But the amount of time it took me from being able to talk to the chatbot to create job in Procore, not timesheets, Ignite folders, and there was one other thing at the time I was doing. It was done in 4 hours, and I came back with a half-finished iced coffee and said, we're done. Like, here we go. And so Tara is here to praise me for that.
I basically just put in the most important points in the YBot, and while it is creating that job in Procore, it's also creating an entire set of folders so that we have the same matching set for every job we set up if we need to go back and find something. So that saves a ton of time. Just creating that whole set of folders is a big help, and not having to re-enter the same data into two different softwares is huge. I basically got one place that I enter it, and it's updating two separate softwares. We run quite a bit of work out of our office, and we haven't had to hire more construction admins, so that's a plus. Yeah, it was a big transition.
But as we've come along, we've bolted a lot of additional stuff onto that. So these days, it's a lot of decision-based things. You know, we want to know, all right, if it's over this value or this duration, we want to make this kind of choice. So baking that into either the job setup or as it changes over time, that's where we're focusing on now, just helping us remember that we're coming up to an inflection point in the job that we got to do something. Okay, I think I'm passing back to Julie here.
All right.
Great job.
Thank you so much. I think one of the things that I love most about Bishop's story is that they didn't get caught up in sunk cost, right? Like, how hard is it when you've put so much work into fine-tuning and connecting all your server-based systems or existing point solutions? It's really hard to say, wait, there's a better way. It's going to take some work to get there. But Wagon was willing to do it. Although you didn't share with them that you did name your chatbot. So you went from Sebastian to
Ybot.
Ybot.
Like Ybot.
Yeah. Yeah, so just having fun with it too, right? But I love these stories of how they're able to take advantage of the flexibility and the accessibility of Procore's platform, and really thinking outside of the box. So to just recap what we heard, Procore accelerates digital transformation by enabling you to integrate other tools to get the functionality you need to help your teams work more effectively, so you can spend more time building and less time on paperwork. And the information that you need to get started is right on our website. We have, as well, we have our professional services team. So Zanette and Shane in the back, if you want to wave hello. We actually have a robust professional services team that would love to talk with you about your tech stack. Sometimes it's hard to know whether there's existing functionality in Procore, or whether we have a platform solution that could come in and fill the need, and how to really simplify all this complexity, all these. Yeah, please.
Aaron Warren with their professional services team was my guy, and I intended to hire him to write a lot of this stuff, and he's like, you can probably do this yourself, you know that, right? I'll be here to answer your questions. And he was right. Like,
yeah.
I met with him weekly just to like bounce ideas off of him of how I can get stuff done, and figure out, oh no, that's a bug, it shouldn't work that way. So that was some of the best money spent, was getting Aaron and his team in there.
We actually used the same team, and we had the same result. Yep, they're great to work with.
Fantastic. I love the innovation in these teams, and our team sure loves getting to work with them and learn from them and get inspired by them. So you've heard just a couple of the amazing stories that are possible through the integration platform, and the same power is available to you with our over 400 marketplace partners, and there are actually 120 of them that you've seen down in the Expo Center. And we would just encourage you to talk with them, get inspired about what's possible, and check in with our professional services team to make sure that you're streamlining the tech stack, making it work more innovatively so you can deliver for your teams and not adding to that tech debt and complexity. So at this point, I would like to open the floor up for Q&A. Kevin's going to help me out, and we have a mic ready to go if folks have questions.
Hello.
Hello.
When you set out that code so people can join a project on their own, is that just internally to your team, or is that to project partners as well?
It's for partners. It's not for my team. My team, they're already set up. The robot did that. It's the painter, the drywaller, the everybody else. Like, I don't want to have to figure out how to spell their email address to get them in Procore. It's self-service. They can go do it themselves. There's also an owner, an engineer option there. Well, there's an approval process behind that one, but any sub can go sign up for any job.
So that's just on your externally facing website?
Correct. Yeah, the link was on the bottom. You can go hit it. Please don't spam me. But
Anyone else?
How does it know who on your team to put on what project?
so one of the chatbot questions was who the project manager is, who the construction admin is, which is the financial people, and then who the superintendent is. And so I store that somewhere so we can check against it later in case it changes. But that's the decision point, is that's made when they create the job. You can't create a job without a project manager and without a construction admin. Well, we might lie to it, but.
Following up on my question,
Okay.
how do you keep randos from joining the project?
They gotta have the code.
You have to have the
But the
custom-
code's on the website.
Nope,
No.
the codes, I give you the code at the meeting minutes, the kickoff, in your letter of intent.
Gotcha.
So every code's different for every job.
So it's semi-private, basically. Yeah.
But now that we've seen the first 4 characters of his, we can randomly generate.
Give it a shot. If you want to be a subcontractor on our jobs, there's easier ways.
How do you make the decision of where's the limit of allocating capital to new ideas? I mean, I heard you say that, we don't say no, but there's capital in saying yes all the time. Where
Correct.
do you draw the line?
That's a great question.
I would love to know, how did you figure that out?
So we don't say no when we're first deciding to test an idea, because that initial effort to test something usually doesn't cost any money. It costs people time, right? And if a project team says, I want to test this new solution for, I don't know, we're doing a materials management, supply chain beta right now. If they'll put that time in and they're invested, there's very little cost to that. To your point, we do have like an enterprise prioritization and investment kind of dashboard where we ultimately have to make some choices with operational leaders that help us to say, hey, there's 10 things on the backlog. What's the next thing that's most important to the business because of where we are? Maybe it's supply chain. Okay, we're going to move that to enterprise adoption. Maybe it's not. Maybe we have to wait a little bit because, to your point, none of us have unlimited resources. Typically for us, it's more the people than the money is the constraint, right? So if we had as much money as we wanted to spend on technology, it's still my team and the operations team time. You can't change too much too fast or people get really upset. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we have it's not a steering committee, it's an advisory committee that helps to make those decisions on where we prioritize and when we're ready to go do something. Great question. Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, we want to get the questions on mic so that way they're recorded.
Hi, you've spent a tremendous amount of time making your businesses more efficient, investing in the tech stack, and then you get on site and the owner says, I need you to use all of my systems. After you stop crying, kind of how do you deal with those sort of requests?
It happens less these days. For a while, it was telling us to use Procore, and we did a lot about that. But there's only, I can think of just a handful of cases that we have to do that at this point, some big clients, lifelong client kind of things, and we just double enter it, because there's no automation for a lot of those tools, or I can't convince them to buy the right package that has an API that I can talk to.
If I can jump in there. So we have had a couple owners that have wanted, number one, it's a conversation, right? Because usually asking for, we want you to use this system really doesn't mean we want you to use that system for the whole project. It really means we want this data at this point in our system. And so we have actually done a couple integrations with owners. They typically take a lot of time and they're typically pretty painful. At least the owners we've worked with so far haven't had the resources on their end to be ready to do it. But we have eventually gotten it to work. And that's been beneficial because we are now using our Procore system and all of our related systems, and the owner is still automatically getting what they want. But it's a conversation. It's not an easy one to navigate, for sure.
Just a simple question. What team did you say you both used? You said Aaron, someone? I was just curious.
Oh, the Procore professional services
Procore
team.
Technical Services.
Yeah.
So,
Specifically around integrations.
Everyone has a customer success manager. Your customer success manager knows how to get in touch with Aaron
right.
And everyone else.
Somewhere. I've seen him physically here. Snag him. He's kidnap him if you can, because he's worth it.
All right, let's do one more question.
I was just curious, how much of your respective solutions use like the marketplace integrations versus kind of custom stuff with the open API?
On my side, technically the Ignite sync to Procore is a marketplace tool. So one, I look at Cole and see if he knows. I think everything, yeah, Procore Analytics we bought from Procore. everything else is just using the API, because it's so much, I get all the custom building control, and the stuff made it so easy to configure. Like, I mostly don't want to try to use what somebody else thought I would want to use.
Yeah, we're similar. I would say about 25% roughly of our solutions are the out-of-the-box, press the button and you're integrated. These more complex processes, like we've talked about timesheets, most of us have enough variability in the way we think about things, name things, all those variables, that building the integration yourself makes more sense. And with tools like Workato, the Microsoft stack is what we use, it's so easy to do it yourself now. It's not the barrier. 5 years ago it was a huge barrier for all of us, right? It's becoming not a barrier. And you do get really good business outcomes, whereas 5 years ago it's actually probably not the choice you would have made.
What's nice about it is if you're knowledgeable of your industry as you're doing it, you're making the choices that other people need to make and building it into the code versus just like, well, I don't know what they want, so
right.
I'm going to set it up so for every possible contingency, and you get to make good business decisions along the process of programming.
Yep, great question.
Fantastic. Well, let's give our speakers a round of applause.
Thanks, everybody.
And if you would like more information, we encourage you to scan the QR code and enter the related product, or get in touch with your customer relationship manager. Thank you so much.